we're here with Taylor of Timber Timbre. Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. Yes. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. So it's 6 weeks left to the beginning of your tour. What are you doing in Amsterdam?
I'm just here to speak with you, actually,
Oh, that's great.
and yeah, and a few others, and yeah, you know, take a stroll. Unfortunately, it's a little rainy today, but yeah,
It's terrible weather. Yeah, it is.
yeah, it's better than Canada though. It still beats Canada, I think.
Is it?
Yeah. There's quite a lot of snow there now. They're buried.
Hmm. Yeah, not so good.
Yeah.
I was really wondering. At the end of 2015, you stopped touring, and what happened right after that? Did you started writing immediately?
Yeah, I guess we kind of wound down slowly, and by the fall, I'd started to kind of assemble some ideas. I found a space to work in, and I started making recordings to slowly evolve these the songs that would be future pollution.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so I kind of did it by myself for a little bit, a couple of months. I recorded onto a 4-track cassette tape, so very kind of basic arrangements and the pieces of the puzzle.
Was it a little bit? Could you say it was more like sketching?
Absolutely, yes, yeah, that's exactly what it was. Nothing very detailed. Yeah, yeah, and then at the beginning of 2016, I started to work with the band, and you know, evolve the ideas a little further in terms of like arrangements and the structure of how the songs would take shape.
All right. Well, thank you. I have another question about that. But first of all, I listened to your new album. And it's called Sincerely Future Pollution. And it will launch at the 7th of April. And when I listened to your album musically, I really got this feeling of a urgent tension. And an urgent tension to be slowly released, maybe. And I was surprised to hear such a own sound, but in a way, it was kind of different. And it had its 80s sound, maybe it has this air of experiment and playfulness to it as well. And although there was this tension, it has this ease to it as well. Because you already said a little bit about the writing process. Could you tell me a little bit more? So you started by yourself and then you picked it up?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm glad to hear that you've heard some confidence, you know, in the record, because it was the procedure after that point was, well, it was very much that. It was a procedure, and it was sorting out the sounds was not something super confident. It was like very much a search and kind of a struggle at times, because we had, in a way, we had made a decision to use different sounds and different instruments and a different feeling than what is typically sort of found across the back catalog of for the band. So yeah.
Yeah, I was really surprised to hear the new album. I really loved it, and I thought I read that your last album, Hot Dreams, was recorded in California, and this album was partly recorded in outside of France. Is that correct?
Hot Dreams. I did a lot of the writing in Los Angeles, but it was recorded in Canada in the mountains. But yeah, but it's true that Future Pollution was recorded just outside of Paris in a studio called La Fête, and yeah, it was wonderful.
Do you think like that place added up to the specific sound of this album?
I can't. It's hard to say how much the 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 place. I mean, the place being France or Paris, but I mean the studio was absolutely something that insinuated itself on the sound of the record. I mean, we lived there for 2 weeks, and then I went back for another week to record voice, but we didn't really leave the house. We didn't really leave this building for a couple of weeks, and we only, for the most part, I think we used whatever was in that building. And La Frette has a very eccentric collection of gear and instruments, guitars, synthesizers, and compressors, and drum machines, and so yeah, we were really lucky to benefit from that, and we kind of decided that was going to be the record. That was going to be the taste, or like the timbre of the record.
Yeah, because it has like a really different, unique sound to it, and yeah, I wondered where that came from. But when I describe Timber Timbre to other people, I always mention the really remarkable, written, poetic lyrics. On earlier songs, you got sometimes help of, I think, Simone Schmidt. How did that work this time for you?
Yeah, I didn't have Simone's help this time. I'm sure I would have benefited from Simone's help, but no, I went at it on my own this time. Yeah, it was.
You did great.
Thank you, thank you, thanks. Yeah.
How would you describe the sound in your new songs? Do you agree to the 80s sound I mentioned before?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It's funny because this was something that was not really a common reference for everybody in the group, and so I was kind of sending things to the guys like New Order or Depeche Mode or something like Talking Heads or just Tears for Fears. I don't know, things that were not really things that the group did not necessarily collectively come together with or grow up with as cool music. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, it was kind of like I felt a little bit questioned as to like what are we do? The guys were a little bit like what are we doing? Why is this? Why are we talking about these things? Why are we listening to these things? So yeah, so it was a bit like out of a bit out of the wheelhouse of what we'd kind of a preconceived idea of taste, a very narrow idea of what is kind of taste to us.
Yeah, it makes it also very interesting, like exploring like this new path of almost a genre, maybe.
Yeah, it's funny. It's not even as though that's particularly dangerous, or it's just that if that is not a reference to you, then it becomes it's almost as though it was a little bit taboo or something to make references to this era.
Yeah, it is. Why do you think it is?
I think it's really just that we grew up in that time, and those things didn't sound good to us. That was what was on the radio, and that was kind of perceived as cheesy, and we kind of grew up with like rock radio and classic rock, and that's kind of what for whatever reason what was cool, and yeah.
And that makes total sense, I would say, yeah. So, in the song Western Question, you seem to bring up a world that's, I would say, defeated in a way. That was the feel I got to it, and also like the sewer is coming back throughout the album a few times, and I wondered how your concerns on politics are part of this album.
I've always enjoyed the privilege of making music in a kind of bubble, and being apolitical, and that is a kind of luxury that is very rare, and I think to some extent it feels like this luxury cannot really be afforded anymore, and it seems I felt in a way some responsibility to not necessarily engage, but just that I simply couldn't block out what was happening in so the it wasn't that I chose to be political, it's that I realized that I couldn't not I couldn't continue to be non-political, and the things that were happening around me were permeating the process of making the recording and writing, and it was unavoidable.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a kind of like a heavy year with the American elections, for example, and like refugees everywhere, and you point that out. I really like that. I listened to the song, I think it's called Blue Nuit. Do you say it like that?
That's right, yeah.
I hope I don't offend you, but it reminded me a little bit of that intro tune of the TV series Love Boat. You know that?
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. I'm trying to think of the melody of this theme. I can't recall it now, but yeah, I like this reference. This little exotica moment or something.
Yeah, I must say I looked it up and it isn't, but it reminded me like really strongly. I was like, oh, what is this?
Check that.
Yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, I really want to know this. On Blue Nuit. First I thought it's instrumental, and then I listened to it carefully and I was like, no, I hear a voice. Can you tell me what you're singing? Maybe just one line.
What is the lyric? It's so funny because it's a composition by Mathieu and Simon, and they had asked me to kind of like take it, and they wanted to give it to me to write to, and to sort of make it, as though it were my own song. Mm-hmm. And I just had such a hard time doing this. I just have never managed to collaborate that in that way before, and I still was not able to do it. So I ended up singing through this vocoder, mm-hmm. and the theme kind of reminded me of a program which was a kind of erotic cinema that existed and it was produced in Quebec and was on at very late night. And this was sort of a foray into, sexuality and a sexual education or miseducation for young people, who would, watch this when their parents went to bed or whatever. So one line is TVI, boys are men tonight.
All right, well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I listened to it so much yesterday, and I couldn't figure it out, but thank you very much. Would you say it is easier or harder to write music or lyrics when you're in love or even grieving?
Is it harder to write lyrics when you're in love?
Or easier?
I don't know. I've only been in love a couple of times, I think. And I don't know if that was... I would think that generally experiencing big feelings is conducive to creativity.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I listened to the song Velvet Gloves and Spit, and it's one of my favorite. And I've listened to it, so I think it's out now a week or something. And I've listened to it on repeat because I like it so much. And I want to ask you, can you listen to music on repeat? And
I don't know if I listened to a song on repeat. The last time that I kind of did something like that with a song where I couldn't get enough of this song was Rihanna's "Love on the Brain."
Oh yeah.
I really loved this song so much, and I would be driving and it would be on every station. So you could, when it ended on one station, I could just flip the dial and find it on another station. But yeah, I don't know. I listen to records a lot at home. I mean, I like to listen to records, and I like to put the record on, and I'll listen to records over and over again, for sure. Yeah.
I'm not sure if you want to answer, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. In the song "Floating Cathedral," you seem to be somewhere unwanted, like in a place you don't want to be, maybe. And I wondered who is Sarah?
Um, Sarah is kind of a fictitious, a blanket sort of matriarch, I guess. And yeah, Floating Cathedral was, I guess, the idea of observing something very fragile. And I was recalling walking around in Venice, and it seemed kind of inconceivable to me that there was such a beautiful kind of ancient thing that was impossibly just teetering on the edge of this sewer. This, the whole city being kind of just about to implode, and something so heavy and kind of like profound, and the precariousness of that was really haunting to me.
Could you give an example of what do you do outside music? What inspires you musically, maybe?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I like to read. I try to read. I carry books around with me.
You do?
With the intention of opening them and reading them.
What book do you have with you?
I have, it's Jay McInerney's, oh yeah, Bright Lights, Big City. This is like this is a good, this is like a children's book.
Is
I
it?
shouldn't say that. No, that's not true. That's not true.
What is it about?
Oh, it's about a writer. It's about a writer. I don't know what it is about writers. Why do writers always write about writers?
Because they're writers themselves, so I think they find that interesting in a way.
I wonder if I make music about... I don't make music about musicians. I mean...
Eminem does.
Sense?
No, but I know what you mean, yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't have a lot of non-musical endeavors, really. I like to, I have a motorcycle. This is my latest hobby. This is my only hobby. It's kind of like maybe the one thing that allows me to not sort of be in my head or focused on my. It's kind of like I have to be very focused only on that because I'm afraid I will die otherwise. And
yeah.
That's like there's something very relaxing about that.
Can imagine. Can I ask you what kind of motorcycle it is?
It's not a cool one. It's it's a Honda. It's a kind of dad bike.
All right, all right. Well,
It's a cruiser, yeah.
Oh, a cruiser. All right. Well, good to know. Thank you. So your new tour's coming up, and you'll be playing a bunch of shows in Europe and throughout the U.S. And I really love to watch that video. I only know it since a few months, but I love to see that video of you guys playing in Massey Hall, because you seem so honored to play there. And I wondered, are there any particular shows you seem to look forward to for this tour?
This will be fun. This one here, this is a good one. We played here not that long ago, and we had a nice time. La Cigale, I think, will be a nice one. We played this venue many years ago. Yeah, La Cigale in Paris. Botanique is also a really beautiful place to play. I don't know. I think it's going to be. It's. I don't know.
Do you like touring?
Yeah, I've learned to like touring. I've learned to love touring actually, but yeah, it's taken a little while.
Is there a particular song you look forward to playing to, or
Oh, I don't know yet. We're still kind of learning how to play these songs, because the recording process is, things are so deconstructed that we now have to, as a group, to get together and sort out, how to actually play the songs.
yeah?
And it's going well. It's slow, but it's going well. It's a little bit more complex than it's been in the past. But yeah, I think they'll all be fun.